conclude today chapter 3. Chapter 3 in one word, batal, nullified. God creates us with his word, the breath of his mouth, metaphorically. We're going to learn more about what that means later. Now we're creating the structure to understand the power of creator within creation, to recognize God within creation, to be able to and think about God's presence as creator. Now, what's significant about this portion, or this book, the second book, Shayichud, it's not about our relationship with God. It's about God himself as creator. Our relationship, which brings about love and awe, was the first book. Here we need to come to terms with a creation, with myself. How do I view creation? How do I view myself? How do I view everything in creation? Excuse me. And the Alter Rebbe is giving us pure physics of the universe. So in this pure physics, the Alter Rebbe is telling us, don't look at the world the way you fashion something. That was in chapter 2, right? When you fashion a goblet, I finally got it. The silversmith starts with silver that's malleable, so it needs to be heated up, and then it can be shaped into a goblet. And that's the most that a human being can do, is reshape something. Energy into matter, matter into energy, but you're starting with a something. God, on the other hand, with nothing. Before creation, there was nothing but him. The term nothing means nothing that we can comprehend, nothing that we can understand or experience. And from there, he makes a something. So indeed, this is created by God. Something from nothing. The silversmith formed it. He doesn't bring it into existence. God is bringing this into existence every moment with his word. And as we learned in chapter 1, if he takes away the word, it ceases to exist. Chapter 2, explain how we should make a mistake and look at it the way humans fashion something. And here in this chapter, we're saying, well, not only if God took away the word, this would cease to exist, but while the word is creating this is reality, only the word of God that gives it existence, that gives it its character qualities. It's the only reality is that of God, the word of God that creates it. How do you grasp that? So we always need metaphors. Hasidus always brings metaphors because this is something out of our frame of reference. Where do we have a frame of reference for this? How do we understand this in our world and our experience? So we have a metaphor to bring this out. There's a sun and rays of the sun. When the rays come out of the sun, we call that sunlight. Some people are sun worshipers, right? Because they really appreciate the sunlight and the warmth and everything that comes with it. Now, those rays of light from the sun rays, they come from a source. How do we perceive them in their source? How do we look at them in their source? Do we call it the rays of sun within the sun? No. It's just the globe of sun. It's just the sun. In its source, it doesn't even have a name, doesn't have an existence separate from the sun. It is part of the body, part of the globe of the sun. When it comes out, um, it has its sort of independent existence as being a ray of sunlight from the sun. In the sun, it doesn't. So while it's in its source, it's completely nullified to such a degree that it is got no name to it. Existence side of the fact that it is part of the sun, the globe of the sun. This is the metaphor. We are like the rays of sun outside of, inside the globe. We're constantly in our source within God. And therefore we're completely nullified, just as the ray of light, of sunlight is in the sun. We are completely nullified to our source within God and bound up and totally one with Him. Now, of course, this metaphor has a shortcoming to it. It has it doesn't fully extend itself, because the rays of sun are only within their source, within the sun. But the sun is only in one place, 93.5 million miles away from the earth. And it's not on earth or here. So the metaphor works, but obviously it has a limitation. God, on the other hand, is everywhere, as opposed to the sun, which is only in one place. And therefore, since God is everywhere, we are as the rays of light, not outside of the sun, not outside of God, but constantly within our source, within God. So we are totally nullified, totally a part of God and not outside of Him. Now, we feel differently about it, right? We feel, no, I'm separate. We don't even feel like a ray of sun from the sun, because then, that has a obvious source to it. We feel our total independence. And the question is, how could that be? If, in fact, the truth is that I am not real, in the sense that I am in my source, that I'm not independent and of God, not just dependent on Him, that, He should make my day. It's much deeper, much more profound. It's not like, God make my day, make sure I get livelihood, make sure I get, good health and taken care of throughout the day. Of course, we want those blessings. But this is much more profound than that. My very fact that I exist is, broadcast is freezing. Oh, shoot. Is it for freezing for others too? I don't hear it from anybody else. Anybody else is having a problem? Linda and Denise. Let me know if there's anybody else who has this problem of freezing. And also, okay. To figure something out. Okay. All right. So the question is, how is it possible that we are making a statement here? The Alter Rebbe is making such a bold statement. We're just dependent on God, that we, that our livelihood, our health, and all those important things Okay. Yes, this is teaching us of God's word and breath that is creating every moment. And so this is much more. Our very existence, it's dependent on the flow of divine light, energy, the Word of God, that is constantly within me, that is giving me an existence, something from nothing, and is not outside of God, but is totally, we are bound up. So the question is, how is it that I don't feel completely nullified within the light of God, which would make me just like a ray of sun within the sun, and I feel my independence? I feel independence, not that I don't recognize there's a God and so on. We're not talking about recognizing that there is a recognition of God. We're talking about a sense, a feeling, experiencing, like the ray of sun within the sun, that we're completely nullified within our source, within God. That's going to be the next chapter. Tomorrow, tune in. And hopefully for tomorrow, we'll figure out what's going on over here and make things work better with the connection. Have a wonderful day. Please share the Alter Rebbe's teachings with others.